Hello everyone, good morning, welcome to Exampur. How are you all? So yes, we are here back with the chemistry part, and yes, this is the second day of chemistry. Today, we are going to understand chemical bonding. If I'll talk about yesterday, what we discussed yesterday we were discussing periodic table, right? And if I'll talk about periodic table, there were several scientists who were actually working on that. If I'll go with the starting part, that is Daubernier. Remember Dauberniere's triads. Then we had several other people. For example, I can talk about Mendeleev. Mendeleev gave what? He gave octets principle, that is law of octets. But if I talk about the present periodic table, this idea actually generated in the mind of Mendeleev. So someone asked you who gave the idea of modern periodic law. So periodic law was actually given by Mendeleev. But Mendeleev was actually using the concept of atomic masses. And not only Mendeleev, before Mendeleev also people who came, they were actually giving the ideas of atomic masses. But this idea which originated in the mind of Mendeleev, what happened? There were several issues. Those issues were resolved by Moseley. And yes, Moseley is the one who has given the modern periodic table, where we talk about atomic numbers, not atomic masses. So if someone asks you who gave modern periodic law, that is your Moseley. So yes, this was the revision of last class. Today we will be understanding chemical bonding. Now how many type of chemical bonding is there? Which is the strongest one? Why it actually happens? Let's have a look. So we'll be understanding it one by one using these questions. So what is the first question of the day? The first question is, formation of cation occurs by dash. Now, who all are there in the session, kindly like it and share it. And yes, please start commenting so that I can start talking to you. What I was talking about the formation of cation. Now, if I talk about cation, please remember, we are talking about positive charge. Now, you must be wondering, sir, how this positive charge will come? See, what happens, yesterday we were discussing about some metals and non-metals. Remember, metals were the ones who were donating the electrons and non-metals were the ones who were accepting the electrons. Here, if I talk about metals, let's talk about sodium here. Sodium is the one which actually donates the electron. Now, how many electrons are donated? That is actually represented by the positive charge. For example, 2 electrons are donated, we'll be writing 2 plus. If only single electron is donated, we'll just write plus. So just have a look. If I talk about sodium, which is actually present in the first group, from the first group, we know that we are talking about alkali metals, right? So here, when we are talking about sodium, what is its atomic number? Its atomic number is 11. Now, we discussed yesterday, there's a formula for this electronic configuration. What's that? The formula is 2n square, where n is what? N is the number of shell. So for the first shell, if I'll put here 2 into 1's square, so in the first shell 2 electrons can come. In the second shell, we can have 8 electrons, right? So if I'll try to fill it, so we have Vikramaditya here. Hello Vikramaditya, good afternoon, how are you? So yes, I was discussing about cations formation. So I was just explaining Vikramaditya along with yesterday's revision that how we are actually creating this electronic configuration, how it is actually made. So yes, if I'll write here, it will be 281. So we knew there's a excess of 1 electron in order to complete the outermost shell. So what it will do? It will donate the electron. Now it is donating how many electrons? Just 1. So what will happen, since it is donating 1 electron, I can represent now sodium as Na positive. That is, 1 of the electron is donated. Now this is what? Now this is actually cation. Got my point? What is it? It is actually a cation. So here, what was asked? Formation of cation occurs by what? So if I talk about this cation formation, here it is happening what? Here we are actually donating the electrons, right? So what has happened? Here, there's a loss of electron. That is, electron has been donated. So there's a loss of electron. In this manner, cation is formed. Now, if someone asks me about the anion, if someone will ask me about anion, now how it will be formed? It will be formed by accepting or gaining the electron. Accepting the electron. I guess this point is clear to you. Now I have an example again. There we were talking about sodium. Here what we can do? We can talk about chlorine, for example. If I talk about chlorine, let me remove this negative sign first. If I talk about chlorine, what is the atomic number, Vikramaditya? That is 17. So if I'll try to write the electronic configuration, I'll write in this manner. 2, 8, 7. Now what's the issue? For completing the outermost shell, it requires 1 electron. That means what? 1 of the electron is required. That means it will be accepting electron. When electron comes, it gives you the negative charge. So here I'll write Cl minus. and this is what? This is actually your anion. So we have Abhi here, and yes Abhi, you are absolutely correct. Surya, totally correct. So I guess now the concept of cation and anion are clear. If these are clear, it will be easier for understanding chemical bond as well. So Vikram, Aditya, Surya, if you have any sort of doubt, if there is any sort of doubt, please let me know. Fine. Okay, so this was the basic question. Let's move forward with the next question. So before moving forward with the next question, this is the periodic table, and we know that modern periodic table is having 118 elements, and this modern periodic table was actually given by Moseley. Mendel was the one who used the concept of atomic masses, and he was the one who has used the concept of atomic numbers. Okay. Next question, please. A bond formed by the transfer of electrons between atoms of the elements is called what? So is it ionic, covalent, coordinate, or hydrogen bond? Answer please. And don't worry, we are going to discuss each and everything slowly and slowly so that all the concepts will get cleared up. Yes, it's a simple question again. Abhi Surya, totally correct, totally correct. Now my question is, a bond formed by the transfer of electrons between atoms of the elements is called what? So is it ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate bond, or hydrogen bond? What is it? Vikramaditya, Abhi, Surya, can you give this answer? See, please remember, whenever we are talking about the sharing of electrons, fine, so that is quite different. If I talk about transfer of electron, that is different. So Abhi Surya is going with option C, that is coordinate bond. Abhi, coordinate bond is quite different thing. I'll be explaining that after 15 to 20 minutes. Right now, let's try to understand this transferring of electrons. What's that? Let me give you the answer. This is actually your ionic bond, but hello Ganesh, good afternoon, how are you? So yes Ganesh, we are discussing about ionic bond here. We have a question of bond is formed by the transfer of electrons between atoms of the elements is called what? Now, here Ganesh is with covalent bond, okay? But the correct answer would be ionic bond. Now let me explain. If you have any sort of doubt, please let me know. Yesterday when we were discussing about periodic table, we were discussing about the first group, and then I'll talk about the 17th group. In the first group, if I'll write Halina ki rab se faryad, remember that? Halina ki rab se faryad. I gave you the trick, remember? So here we were having sodium. If I'll go with the 17th group, here I can write about, remember this part? So if I'll talk about this chlorine and this sodium, what is happening over here? Sodium was having one of the electron in the outermost shell, and chlorine was having 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So sodium is doing what? Sodium is actually donating the electron. Okay, you can take 1 electron from me. So what will happen? Sodium will be having electronic configuration 2,8. That is, it will be Na positive. Remember? And chlorine will do what? Chlorine will take 1 electron and it will be having the electronic configuration 288, and chlorine will become Cl minus. Here what has happened? One has donated the electron and another one has taken the electron. I'll give you the example over here. Ganesh, Surya, Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya, your answer was correct. I'm also good, Ganesh. So let's take an example. Ganesh and Surya are friends. Now what happened? In a particular month, for example, let's say about Diwali month, the bonus which was given by the company, Ganesh received it, but Surya's bonus was quite late. But Surya actually wanted to purchase a car, fine, and he was lacking with some around 20,000 rupees. But Ganesh received the bonus of 30,000. He was already having extra amount. So here what can happen? Here Surya can ask Ganesh, Ganesh, actually there's an issue. I'm lacking with 20,000 rupees for buying this car. Can you actually help me out? Now Ganesh was already having extra amount. Fine. For attaining the stability, electrons need what? 288 configuration. That is, in the outermost shell, either 8 or 2. Octet or duet should be complete. So here, Ganesh will do what? He has the excess of amount. He'll give it to Surya and say, okay, you can have your car. Next time when I'll face the issue, you can give me. So here what is happening? Giving of electron and taking of electron is taking place, right? There, we'll talk about ionic bond formation, where what we are doing for our stability, we are either giving the electron or taking the electron. So that means transfer of electron is taking place. This transferring of electron is actually known as ionic bonding. Now I'll give you the example of covalent bonding with the concept of girlfriends and boyfriend, don't worry, but we'll be waiting for that. Fine. So I guess this point is clear. In the ionic bonding, what is happening? Electrons are being donated. So yes, here ionic bond is the correct answer. So Vikram, Aditya, Ganesh, Surya, is this point clear? If this is clear, then we'll be going with the covalent bond and all. So if this is clear, let's move forward and have a look at this question. The compound which contains ionic bond is dash. If this concept is clear, you can give this answer. The compound which contains ionic bond is dash. Is it methane? Okay. Yeah, but don't worry. I have that concept of that boyfriend and girlfriend, and you will be easily understanding that covalent bond. But Ganesh, Vikramaditya, Surya. Cool. Okay. So answer please. The compound which contains ionic bond. Is it CH4? Is it CSCl3? Is it NaCl or is it O2? What is the correct answer? Simple one. I have already taken this example. Just we were discussing about it, right? So I'll make for sodium here. And then I'll make for chlorine. We'll be using blue color over here. 2 electrons here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. And 1 here. Then we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But here, one of the electron is lacking. Why? Because we want in the outermost shell, we must have 1 electron. There were how many? It was 287 right now, and this was 281. So what happened? It was requiring the electron. So sodium told, do you want electron? Please take the electron so that I can be stable. So this is doing what? It is giving its electron to this guy, that is chlorine. So this chlorine will be having now configuration is 288. Just have a look. Outermost shell is complete. In the similar manner, since it has given the electron, so it will be 28. It is complete. So both of them are actually now stable by sharing the electrons. Sorry, by transferring the electrons. So Surya, Vikramaditya, Ganesh, all have a C, and you all are correct. That is NaCl. Next question, please. Next we have, why do atoms form bond? So there must be some reason of forming the bond, right? I was just discussing of this Diwali bonus gift from the Surya and Ganesh. So we understood. Actually, we are in the need of that amount. Why? In order to get our life stable. Now for the stability, we need certain amount of money, right? For moving in a proper manner, for running the life in a proper manner, we must have a home, we must have some sort of vehicle so that we can travel actually, we can enjoy our life in short. So yes, for our life also we want stability. These electrons also want the stability. Now how can they have the stability? They can have the stability when they have outermost electrons filled with the either 8 amount or 2. So for 2 we can take the example of helium. Others we talk about octet, 8 electrons. Yeah. So answer please. इसे block कर दो comment जल्दी. Yeah, so abhi is with answer B, that is to make the molecules. Okay, see I have already told you we are talking about jaldi. Yeah, so I was talking about this question. Please remember, when we are talking about these atoms that are forming the bond, why they are forming bond? They are forming the bond, and please do not spam. It's a humble request, do not spam. Fine. Okay, let's get back to a point. If I'm talking about the bond formation, it is actually done in order to get the stability. Very important. Fine. But one more thing is there. If I'll talk about the stability, I have one more option. That is, it is again there. To gain the stability, this is also the option. But please remember, if I'll talk about this potential energy, we need to decrease it. So potential energy must be decreased and stability should be there. And hence, option number A will be correct answer. That is to reduce the potential energy and gain the stability. Now this question was from CHSL part. So Vikramaditya, Abhi, Surya, please remember, we don't want to lose stability now. If you will go with option number C, here we are talking about losing the stability, that would be wrong. Okay. Chala gaya, hat gaya comment. Yeah. So, okay, let's move forward to the next question. Electrons in the highest energy level of an atom are called what? Are these valence protons, orbital protons, valence electrons, or orbital electrons? What is the correct answer for this? Answer please. Electrons in the highest energy level of an atom are called what? So, are they valence protons, orbital protons, valence electrons, or orbital electrons? What is the correct answer for this? And yes, everyone who's there in the session, kindly like it and share it, and kindly give me your names. So Vikramaditya, Abhi, Surya, Ganesh, waiting for the answer, please. Kindly give me your answer, please. I guess I'm getting your comments quite late, huh? Please, once you give me the answer, only then I can actually help you out. See, in this case, let me tell you, Ganesh is with C. Totally correct, Ganesh. Awesome. When we are talking about these valence electrons, what are these? We know that, for example, we were talking about sodium, right? So, we knew when I'm talking about these orbits, in the innermost orbit, there were 2 electrons. Then there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electrons and 1 electron here. If I talk about this outermost orbit, this is actually your valence electron. And please remember, electrons in the highest energy level of an atom is actually known as valence electron, and it is there in the outermost shell. I am writing here for you all. It is in the outermost shell. Okay, so we have already discussed about valency and valence electron. So is there anyone, Vikramaditya, Ganesh or Abhi Surya or other candidate, anyone is, do you have any sort of doubt between this valence electron and valency? Please let me know in the comment section. That even I think. Just a second, I'll just ask for this part to resolve it, then we'll continue. Rinku sir, comment through. Okay, so this comments issue will be resolved, no issues. So if there is any doubt regarding valence electrons and valency, please let me know. Okay, let's move forward now. Next question is, bond formed by sharing of electron between atoms of the element is called what? Now see, first option is already clear. What? When I talk about this ionic bonding means we are talking about the transfer of electrons. Remember that part? What is that? That is actually transfer of electrons. Now the option which are left are covalent, coordinate or none. Sharing of electrons, and I was talking about a concept of boyfriend and girlfriend. So what's that? I'll be giving you an example, but first of all, let's have a look here. Answer please. And if you give me this answer seriously, I'll just try to relate it with the real world example and try to connect with that, and you will be easily understanding that fact. So yes, answer please. Transfer of electron, that was ionic bond. So option number A is already removed. Now we can play Kaun Banega Crorepati. That is, we have 50-50 option. So yes, others please. Ganesh, Abhi Surya, can you answer this? Vikramaditya is with B. Okay. So Ganesh and Surya, are you also with B? Vikramaditya, covalent bond. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. So Ganesh, Abhi Surya and all the others, please remember that is actually a covalent bond. Now let me give you an example. What is happening here? Here, sharing of electrons is there. Now let's take an example. Yeah, Ganesh, totally correct. Awesome. So let's take an example. Let's say, see, when we are single now, we can even survive in 20,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees, whatever X amount we have, we can survive. We don't require any sort of those sleep well mattresses, those particular air conditioners. But once we are married now, we need all those stuffs because of some specific reasons. Now, I'll not go with that part. But the main thing is that, let's take an example. We need, it's just an example, fine. We need, for example, we are living in an A-class city where we can talk about Bangalore and all. So we are living here. We require, for example, 1 lakh rupee for the stability. It's just an example. Now what happens? Ganesh has joined such a sector. Vikramaditya and Surya, you have joined such a sector where your salary is approx 60,000, for example. In the starting phase, obviously you will be booming with the salary part. Just an example. Now for the stability, you think, okay, for the stability now, sir, we must have around 1 lakh rupees. Now in the organization in which you are working, there's a woman, or I'll not say women, there's a girl, fine, who is actually good looking, and you are friend of hers, and you say, let's do one thing. See, you know me, I know you, I like you, you like me. So let's do one thing. Why can't we marry? Can we marry? Now, after marrying, what is going to happen? Our salary would be 1,20,000. And for the stability, we need 1 lakh rupee, right? I'm talking about the stability in which those particular elements were there, which actually wanted outermost shell to be completed with the 8 electrons. In the similar manner, just take this example. What is happening? Because of the mutual sharing, you are having a good sum and you can easily survive in that particular city, right? Just an example. Now, here what is happening? Just take an example. If I talk about HCl, for example. Now, what is going to happen? Hydrogen is actually having one of the electron. And if I talk about chlorine, we have how many electrons? We have 1, 2, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 electrons in the outermost shell. Now what can happen? In this condition, hydrogen will say to chlorine, chlorine, do you need 1 electron? Chlorine will say, yeah, I need it. Now chlorine will ask hydrogen, do you need 1 electron? Hydrogen will also say, I also need 1 electron. So here, chlorine cannot donate the electron. Neither hydrogen can donate the electron. That is, electron transfer is not possible. If chlorine will donate the electron, 6 electrons will be left. No use. If hydrogen will donate the electron, only 1 electron was there. How can hydrogen donate the electron? So there's a tension. Now what they'll do, the concept of marriage that I was talking about. Here what can happen? Here hydrogen can say, okay chlorine, let's do one thing. What we are doing, we will share this electron. Fine. Here what is going to happen? In this manner, just have a look. They have done what? They have actually shared the electron. Now if you will count, hydrogen is actually having what? 2 electrons now. Just have a look here. If I talk about chlorine, now chlorine is also having 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in this manner, after sharing the electrons, here the bond that is formed is known as covalent bond. Fine. So Avan, hello, good afternoon. You were quite late, Avan. Fine. Yeah. So Vikram, Aditya, Ganesh and Surya, are you aware of this point? Got my point? I'll just explain it once again. Here, what is happening? I'll write it again. What is happening? For example, if I'm talking about hydrogen, what's the atomic number of hydrogen? That is 1. That means hydrogen will have 1 electron in the outermost shell. If I talk about chlorine, chlorine is in the 17th group. That means chlorine will be having 7 electrons in the outermost shell. Right? Now, when I'm talking about the sharing of electrons, this means what is happening? We must have a look. Hydrogen requires how many electrons? Just once. So it will actually form a bond over here. None of them has actually given the electrons. None of them has taken the electron. They are sharing the electron. Now here, if I talk about this chlorine, Avan, because of you only I am explaining this part. If I talk about chlorine, chlorine is having 7 electrons. Chlorine needs 1 more electron. So here, in this manner, what is done? Here, sharing of electron is done. Sharing is done, and whenever we talk about sharing, in this case, we talk about covalent bonding. If I talk about transfer of electrons, here we talk about ionic bonding, where I'll talk about the NaCl. I guess all these points are clear. Now, if these points are clear, then we will be moving forward with the coordinate bond. I guess this is clear now. So yes, we have covalent bond in which bonds are formed by the sharing of electrons between the atoms of the elements. Next, the compound which has covalent bond is what? So you have 4 options here. Can you answer me this? Please answer. So Avan, can you answer this? We have just explained this part. Vikram, Aditya, Ganesh and everyone who is there in the session, kindly give me this answer. The compound which has covalent bond is what? Is it CSCl? Is it CaO? Is it N2? Is it Na2O? What is the correct answer? Answer please. The compound which has covalent bond. We have just understood. Please remember, again I am saying, when I am talking about covalent bond, that means I am talking about sharing, right? Here no such transfer of electron is going to take place. So yes, covalent bond. I'll give you one more example. If I'll talk about H2, what's that? Here the bonding is in this manner, right? So yes, waiting for the answer please. Ganesh is with B, that is CaO, okay? Avan and Vikramaditya, are you also with CaO? Please give me answers, I'm waiting for you all. I'll just show you this part, just a second. Yeah, just have a look. If I talk about nitrogen, it is there in the 15th group. This means in the outermost shell, nitrogen is going to have how many electrons? 5 electrons. Let's try to make it. Nitrogen will be having 5 electrons. Now what can be done? This nitrogen, since they are having only 5 electrons for the stability, they need what? They need 8 electrons. Totally correct. Since they need 8 electrons, so what they'll do, they'll do this sharing, this one. And this will do sharing in this manner that if you'll see this cross, this nitrogen is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electrons. If I talk about this nitrogen, it is again having 8 electrons. And here, we can understand what is actually happening. Here we are having covalent bond, that is sharing is done. So yes, let's back to our question. The question was the compound which has covalent bond, it will be N2. Got my point? Okay, so let's move forward with the next question. Which of the following contains both ionic and covalent bond? Now this is the question. Both ionic and covalent. So I'll again write, if I'm talking about ionic, that means I'm talking about transfer of electrons. If I'm talking about covalent, then this means I'm talking about sharing of electrons. So Avan, can you answer me this part? Carbohydrate proteins, Avan is saying. Avan, please answer this. Ganesh, Vikramaditya, I guess I'm getting your comments quite late. Can you do one thing? Just the time you receive my voice, do one thing. Please refresh your video because others' answer is coming at the same time. Real time answer are coming. So please just refresh this video so that I can get your comments in the live session. Yeah. So, yeah, answer please. Avan, you have joined the class quite late. That's why you're not aware of that part. We started with the periodic table. Let me tell you, when we are talking about the bonding, you can talk about, in the real world example, you can talk about any of the thing. For example, you have a cricket bat. Now, if this cricket bat is broken, what you will do? You will use that Fevicol or some of those adhesive stuffs so that it can be joined together, right? In the similar manner, if I want the stability of these electrons, they also want to be stable, right? So how can they be stable? They will either give the electrons or they'll take the electrons, because they want their octet to be complete, or their, sorry, in short manner, I'll say they want their outermost shell to be complete. Now for completing this outermost shell, they'll be either requiring 8 electrons or 2 electrons. If we talk about 2 electrons, we can talk about helium, that is duet. If I want 8 electrons, we can talk about chlorine and other stuffs. Okay, so yes, Avan is saying sodium nitrate. There is no such option of sodium nitrate actually. So Vikramaditya with sodium hydroxide. Okay, so yes, let's talk about sodium hydroxide here. If I'll talk about sodium hydroxide, let's have a look. Sodium hydroxide. Very simple to understand. If I'm talking about sodium hydroxide, that is, we are having this cation and anion part. That means we are talking about the sharing of electrons, or transferring of electrons. This means we are talking about ionic bond over here. But if I'll go with this O and H, we can talk about covalent bond here. Here we will be having covalent bonding, and here we are going to have the ionic bonding. So yes, you are absolutely correct, everyone. Both ionic and covalent, sodium, totally correct, Avan. Great. So Avan, Vikram, Aditya, you both of you are correct. If I'll talk about NaOH, it is having positive, this is negative, that is cation anion, ionic bonding. If I'll talk about OH, covalent bonding, and hence option number B, that is NaOH, is going to be the correct answer. Next, mark the compound which possesses ionic, covalent and coordinate bonds. Answer please. You have to mark the compound which is possessing ionic, covalent and coordinate bonds. We have options SO2, H2O, NH4Cl or CCl4. What is the correct answer? All the kind of bonds which are present here. And in this question only, I'll be explaining you coordinate bonds. I have just told you about ionic and covalent, right? So again, I'll write till the time you're giving me answer. Vikramaditya, Avan, please, waiting for the answer, and everyone who's there in the session. In the ionic bonding, we were talking about, transfer of the electrons. And in the covalent bond, we were talking about sharing of the electrons. Now, what is the concept of coordinate bond that I'll explain, but before that, I want the answer. Yeah, answer please. Avan, do one thing, please come in the evening. In the evening, we'll be having theoretical session. I'll just explain there. Fine. So, in the short manner, I can give you the example. Single. Then, if I'll talk about oxygen, double. If I'll talk about nitrogen, this would be triple. Fine. So I guess Avan, yeah, Vikramaditya is with C, that is NH4Cl, and yes, Avan, the question which I am asking, I actually request you to kindly give those answers so that we can converse it with your doubts in the later mode. Fine. Koi baat nahi, it's no issues, man. I am there to help you out. But answer this, please. So if I talk about this part, you are absolutely correct, Vikramaditya. NH4Cl is the correct answer. Now, first of all, let me explain this ionic and covalent bond here. Yeah. If I talk about NH4Cl, this is NH4 plus and this is NCl minus. So it's obvious that we are talking about ionic bond in this condition. Ionic bonding. Now let's talk about coordinate bond. What's that? Let's try to understand. When we'll talk about this coordinate bond, NH4 plus. What's this concept? Let's have a look. If I talk about nitrogen, how many valence electrons are there? Avan, Vikramaditya, who can answer me? If I talk about nitrogen, how many valence electrons are present in the nitrogen? We have just discussed. Nitrogen is there in the 15th group. I am giving you the hint. Nitrogen is there in the 15th group. I'll write other elements as well. Now, please give me answer. Nitrogen is there in the 15th group. So, how many valence electrons will be there? I am explaining you that Avan, don't worry. But I want the answer what I am talking about. Can you give me this answer? You were there in the session yesterday, right? So, I am talking about the 15th group. We have nitrogen here. So, this means how many electrons, how many valence electrons will be there in the nitrogen? See, when we are talking about 15th group, this means if I'll go with this part, nitrogen, I am going to have 5 valence electrons. That is, in the outermost shell, there will be 5 electrons. Let's try to make it out. So, we have 1, 2, 3. Then we'll write 2 here. Now, we have 4 hydrogens. Vikramaditya thinks 3 or 5. No. There are 5 electrons actually, and Vikramaditya 3 is actually its valency because it requires 3 electrons to complete its octet. Fine. So, one try to understand this part. Fine. What I am saying, 15th group, 5 electrons are there in the outermost shell. It requires 3 electrons for the bonding part. That's why we say its valency would be 3. For completing its octet, what it requires? 3 electrons, so its valency is 3, but 5 electrons are there in the outermost shell. Now, there are 4 hydrogen. So, if I'll write about hydrogen, so what I can do, I'll just put it here. Fine. Now, if I'll go with this nitrogen, what it can do, if I'll talk about this structure, this one. So, nitrogen's octet is complete. How? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, here nitrogen is happy. What about these hydrogens? These hydrogens are also happy because one sharing is done. So, this hydrogen will have 2 electrons, this also 2, this also 2. But still one of the hydrogen is left. Now, one part is there. If I talk about this positive charge, what this positive charge means? Can you explain me this part? Everyone. Can you tell me what this positive charge means? Positive charge actually means that electron is lost. Now, we know that if I talk about hydrogen, there is only one electron. And one electron which was there is also lost because there is a positive charge. Positive charge means what? This electron is also lost. Now, for the stability of hydrogen, how many electrons are required? For the stability of hydrogen, we require 2 electrons. Remember, du8. So, for this hydrogen, we require 2 electrons. But nitrogen was already full. Nitrogen was already full over there. But if you would have seen that clearly, for this structure, there were 2 electrons which were left over here. Remember? So, what this nitrogen can do, this is actually a lone pair of electron which it can give to hydrogen. But this type of bonding where we have lone pair, what is lone pair? We have 2 electrons which are extra, fine, and these extra electrons, lone pair means what? 2 electrons. So, there is a one lone pair which can actually be given to this H plus, and this kind of bonding is known as co-ordinate bonding. This is known as coordinate bonding. So, got my point? NH4Cl was actually having ionic bond, then covalent bond and also coordinate bond. So, all the 3 points are clear. For this coordinate bonding, we require a lone pair of electron, and it is asked in the examination. Totally correct, Vikramaditya. It is asked in the examination how many lone pair of electrons are actually there. So, do not forget, for this lone pair concept, we must be clear with all these logics. If there is a positive charge, we must understand what's cation. So, positive charge comes when actually electron is lost. So, I guess all these points are clear. So, if you have any sort of doubt, please let me know. Got my point? How this NH4 plus positive is actually having ionic bond, covalent bond and coordinate bond. If this is clear, we can proceed forward now. So, Avan, Vikramaditya, Surya, everyone who is there in the session, are all these points clear? everyone. If this is clear, then we'll move with the next part. Okay. So here NH4Cl was the correct answer. Fine. Who told? Oh, sir, for nitrogen is only what? I just gave you the example. Now one, I have already told you. I want do one thing. Please tell me how many valence electrons are there in the nitrogen. First answer me this, then I'll explain your part. Fine. How many valence electrons are there in the nitrogen? I've just explained. Is that thing clear? I'm asking how many valence electrons are there. Please answer me this. Okay. Let's move forward. Which among us is the strongest bond? So let's see who will give this answer. Which among us the following is the strongest bond? And then we'll cover the Avan's answer. Yeah. Which is the strongest bond? Waiting for the answer, please. Answer, please. Okay. So I guess I'm getting your comments quite late. Avan is saying, yeah, totally correct, Avan. So when we'll talk about this nitrogen, I am coming on that part. Please remember, if I'll talk about the strongest bond, here you will be having B. That is, this triple bond is going to be the strongest bond over here. But in one more manner, this question can be asked. Please remember, if someone asks you, which is the strongest bond? Which of the following bond is the strongest bond? So please remember, in that case, you will say that, sir, whenever we'll talk about the covalent bond, it is actually going to be the strongest bond. Very important. Do not forget, covalent bond is the strongest bond. Now, one, I can explain your part now. So, Vikramaditya, is this part clear? Here we have the option B, that is, it would be the strongest bond. And if someone gives you other options, yeah, your answer was totally correct. If someone gives you ionic bond, covalent and all, please remember, covalent bond is actually the strongest bond. Now, we'll take up the doubt of Avan and then we'll continue tomorrow. Fine. So, yes, Avan was asking me, sir, if I talk about this nitrogen, so if you are bonding it with what? If you are bonding it with the nitrogen, so how many bonds would be there? So please remember, you have already told me there would be 5 valence electrons, right? So we have 5 valence electrons. In the similar manner, it is also going to have 5 valence electrons. Now, this nitrogen requires how many electrons to be stable? It just requires 3 more electrons, right? So what it can do, it can actually ask this nitrogen to share them. So in this manner, just try to calculate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this nitrogen is having 8 electrons now. What about this nitrogen? This nitrogen is also having 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So here, it actually depends. What is that particular compound in which we are talking about bonding, so that we can give answer accordingly. It's not fixed that every time this is going to happen. It actually depends what kind of chemical composition is there or what that particular compound is totally fine. So yes, Avan, great. So yes, we discussed about this chemical bonding today, right? Tomorrow we will be coming up with the session of the chemistry's previous year questions of SSC examinations, no doubt. But in today's evening session, we are going to discuss the CGL related questions. Fine. And yes, we'll be having this discussion along with this part, including the CGL questions, that is the previous year questions. So I'll be waiting for you all in the evening between 6 to 7. Okay. So if you have any sort of doubt which is left, kindly let me know so that we can finish this class. Okay. So we'll meet up in the evening. Fine. Okay then. Bye-bye everyone. Please take care. Yes, so we have some more time. If you have any sort of doubt, please let me know so that we can clear up all our doubts. So yes, we were discussing about this bonding, right? So let me tell you what we have discussed today. We'll have just revision, short revision. So from the starting part, we discussed about chemical bonding, right? What was that bonding? We gave you the example also. Avan was asking me, Avan, are you there in the session? You can just comment me. Yeah. So what I was saying, I was just asking, Avan asked me, sir, what is that bonding? So that bonding we were discussing about, for example, we were talking about cricket bat, right? So when we are talking about the cricket bat, when we are playing cricket, for example, that bed breaks up. So what we'll do, we'll use some adhesive. We can use Fevicol or something like that. Why? In order to just bring that back into the stable position. In the similar manner, if I talk about our life, we want stability. In the similar manner, these electrons also want, sorry, these elements also want the stability. Now, if I talk about the stability, for that bet, the stability came when we use Fevicol. In our life, stability comes when we have a good sum, we have a good family, good sum of amount, right? In the similar manner, if I talk about elements, they want their stability by having the outermost shell filled. Now, if I talk about this outermost shell filled, so Avan, please try to have a look. If I talk about this helium, helium has its atomic number 2. Hydrogen has its atomic number 1. So, if I talk about this hydrogen, hydrogen will do what? Hydrogen will actually require one more electron so that their 2 electrons can be filled in the outermost shell. What it does, it actually requires 1 electron, right? So, if I talk about hydrogen, hydrogen when it will get 2, here its duet will be complete. Duet means what? 2 electrons will be there in the outermost shell. If I talk about this helium, helium also needs 2 electrons, but it is already having 2 electrons, so it does not require any more electron further. So it is already stable. It doesn't require any more electron. Now if I talk about this group now, this group is already having outermost electrons filled with 8 electrons. That is, their outermost shell is complete. That's why it doesn't require any sort of bonding. It doesn't require any sort of bonding, and they are actually your noble gases. But apart from them, all of the others actually require those particular outermost shell to be filled, and for that stability, they are doing what? They are actually bonding. Now bonding, we have understood what is bonding now. Bonding was actually of different types. What were they? We discussed. First of all, if I talk about bonding, the first bonding is actually your ionic bonding. Remember, in ionic bonding, what was happening? In ionic bonding, we were discussing about transfer of electrons. It's just a revision. It will take hardly 5 minutes. Fine. Avan, are you there? Because you were having doubt. That's why I've taken this session. Yes. So what I'm talking about, if I talk about this ionic bonding was doing what? It was actually helping in the stability of the electron. How? By the transfer of electrons. What can be its example? We can talk about NaCl. For example, if I talk about NaCl, sodium is actually a metal. When it donates the electron, it has positive charge on it, that it forms cation. Okay, so in the similar manner, if I talk about this chlorine was having negative charge, right? But since it was giving the electron, it was taking the electron, so this was ionic bonding. In the similar manner, if I talk about covalent bonding, they were sharing the electrons, right? And we have already discussed about coordinate bonding. So this was all about bonding, and we'll meet with the detailed manner in the evening between 6 to 7. So bye bye everyone. Please take care.